price history indicates that it's a stock which has gone through a stable and a very steady kind of an uptrend. So, there were two phases of dips or corrections in between on the weekly charts for the stock. And on both of these attempts, the stock took maybe 2 or 3 weeks, but then it recovered and then it started to, rally up significantly higher. One of the latest one was seen in the month of October, where the stock corrected from 800 levels to 650, 620. And from there, it started to, trend up higher and now come back towards 750 levels. So I would sense if the stock breaks past about 800, it could be a very similar kind of a chart pattern where it may continue to rise up higher and continue to trend up significantly on the upside. So I would suggest a hold on Solar Comstar, given the kind of chart patterns is visible so far.
All right, this next query is from Soumitra and he wants a view on CAMS. He's saying, can it be accumulated at current levels? So he wants a fundamental as well as technical view, but I'll go in for a fundamental view. Gaurang, what's your take on CAMS? Do you think the Soumitra should look to accumulate at current levels for the longer term?
Cyril, thank you and good morning to you as well. Unfortunately, we don't have a coverage on this, so I won't be able to comment specifically.
Right, then I'll take a technical view then. Kunal, what's your view on CAMS? Do you think the Soumitra can look to accumulate at current levels?
I think it's a good level to accumulate because, what had happened was the stock actually started to correct from the month of September. So I think August or September August end or September start is where the stock actually made a fresh high for itself around that 4,000 mark. And from there, it's already corrected towards 3,000. So there was a couple of months period where the stock was trading even the sub 3,000 mark. But it's trying to stabilize itself at the 3,000 mark. Now, when you're looking out for such kind of names where the correction ends and the stock stabilizes at a certain level, it's going through a time corrections. So after the price correction, if a stock gets into a time correction, we typically expect that those are good levels to try and chip into these stocks from long-term play. So if you have a time frame of 1 year plus, I believe at current levels of 3,000 approximately, it could be a good level to buy.
Okay, Sean Barbosa from Mumbai is writing in, and Gaurang, this one's for you. ITC, he's got 200 shares at levels of 223, which if I'm not mistaken is more or less where the price is right now. He's asking if we should accumulate more at the current price. He is a long-term investor.
So Alex, I'll answer the second part first in terms of accumulating ITC at current levels. Well, accumulate, yes, but not at current levels. I think closer to 200 or sub 220 levels would be a very comfort zone. And since the stock is trading at somewhere close to about 221, and given the backdrop of how the markets are reacting, I think if you get it closer to 200, it will be a better level to average. And this will also bring down your acquisition cost to a great extent. Having said that, as all of us know, Alex, ITC is known for testing your patience. The earlier, zone was 180 to 200. Once it took off 200. Now the zone is anywhere between 210, 220 on the lower side to 240, 250 on the higher side. And after the second quarter earnings, we believe that minus tobacco and cigarette business, other businesses should start contributing over the next couple of quarters. So accumulate closer to 200, and I think you will need long-term as well as highest level of patience with ITC.
One is from Vignan and he wants to know about Canara Bank. Coming to you, Kunal, for this one. He's saying that he has Canara Bank shares that he's purchased at 233 rupees per share. Currently, it is much below that buying price. So he wants to know whether he should look at this opportunity to go ahead and average his shares, or should he's asking, can we expect another downfall in the markets after averaging my shares? Tricky question on that one, but what should his strategy be with Canara Bank, Kunal?
And yes, tricky question, but then the answer is very simple for that. I would believe that if you are very specific on your kind of a time frame, if Canara Bank is a part of your larger construct of your portfolio, then I believe that even if you've purchased at higher levels, I think at current levels, 15% down approximately from your purchase price, I think should be a good level where you can look to average. An ideal level, of course, would have been that psychological 200 mark for Canara Bank. So you can wait for maybe a 3-4 buck correction for the stock, or you can try and chip into the stock at current levels of 203, 204. that's a call which you have to take. But then more or less, I think 200 seems to be a good support for Canara Bank. And remember this one point, that this was one of the first PSU banks, rather the second PSU banks, stock which has managed to give a breakout on the multi-swing chart. So post that, you had Bank of Baroda and PNB and such other names which had followed a very similar kind of a breakout. So Canara Bank actually turned out to be one of the few leaders from the pack in last 2 or 3 months. So which is why I believe that it seems to be a strong stock, and come back to a corrective phase should be a good level to buy.
Coming back to you, Kunal, on this next one, we've got a viewer, Aarti, who's asking for rapid fire, but we'll take it right now. PVR is the name of the counter. She's looking to get in for the shorter term, I believe, and she's looking for technicals. What would you suggest that she do?
Quite frankly, at current levels, because there is so much of news flow surrounding the kind of news flow around the COVID, etc., which is impacting the stock price. And I think more importantly, it's the settling of the volatility. Now typically you would want to buy stocks where the volatility settles down after a phase of correction, where the chance of you making money, or the probability of you making money, seems to be far more higher. Now if you are against the tide, when the selling pressure is so high, the risk reward may seem to be attractive, but then the chances of you getting stopped out on the trade is far more higher. So I would wait for the stock to or the volatility to ebb off on the stock before it starts to show some signs of recovery. And whenever that happens, maybe it could happen at end of the week, maybe it could happen next week or after a couple of weeks. I think that could be a better level to buy PVR. So it may be probably 50, 60, $80 higher from current levels, but then you have to wait for the volatility to settle down before you're looking to buy such kind of high beta names.
Right, this one is coming in from Chaitanya, and this one is for you, Gaurang. He's saying that he's bought Sun Pharma at the levels of 816 rupees per share, and this after seeing good Q2 results. But even in a market with good note for Pharma, this company seems to be underperforming. So what should he do? Do you think that he should stay put with Sun Pharma? No doubt, like he's mentioning, Pharma right now is actually on a high once again, but Sun Pharma seems to be underperforming the rest of the pack. So what's your take on Sun Pharma? What should Chaitanya do with his holding?
So we have a positive coverage and continue to hold Sun Pharma from a long-term point of view. And if you do have an investable amount from a long-term point of view, then lower levels should be used as averaging or making fresh investments. Yes, Cheryl, entire pharma sector is driven by news flows, and since India is the pharmacy to the world, my sense is that this is going to stay here for a pretty long period of time. And news flow will definitely keep the stocks in spotlight, depending upon how good or bad the news flow is. But the result were turnaround as far as Sun Pharma was concerned for the second quarter gone by. And our sense is that earning visibility should only improve going forward from here on. So hold on, have patience, and if you have investable amount, you can average at lower levels.
I believe we've got Ben Sam on YouTube, as well as Neville from the UAE on WhatsApp, both asking about IDFC First Bank. Neville's got as many as 10,000 shares, which he bought at levels of 55 rupees, Gaurang. And his holding period, he says, is for the long term, which he describes as 5 to 7 years. Should he hold on to this investment?
So if I'm not mistaken, we have a coverage on IDFC First Bank, Alex. And the good news for this bank is that the resolution for the telecom sector is now coming in sooner rather than later. Yes, the vulnerability was there, fading off a little bit as we speak, but clarity from the government side on the telecom sector will throw in more positivity for banks like IDFC First Bank, who have a sizable portion of their loan book exposed to this particular sector. And along with that, I think the statement made by the management post Q2 numbers, earning visibility should improve. So you can definitely hold on. If you don't have a rather large exposure to this investment in your overall portfolio, then at lower levels, you can possibly look at averaging as well.
Okay, Tarun Gambhir is asking a question on Tata Consumer, Kunal, and he's saying that he has Tata Consumer at 615 rupees per share level. Should I average more? If yes, at what price, or exit on a bounce? What's your take on Tata Consumers? Kunal, what should Tarun do with his holding? 615 is his buy price.
Well, I'm absolutely clear with the view. I think you should definitely hold on to the stock from a medium term to long term play. It's a classic stock. It's a quality kind of a stock, and I've seen I've tracked the stock right from the time when the stock was at 200 to 50 odd rupees, erstwhile Tata Global, and then it used to go into those periods of volatility, V-shaped corrections, and V-shaped rallies. The stock has shown a lot of maturity, and now it doesn't go into those V-shaped kind of corrections and rallies, but it goes into more of time corrections and mild bit of price corrections in between. So I think purely in that sense, with the change of behavior, we typically expect that prices and trends do change from a longer term play. And I think in that sense, Tata Consumer seems to be a quality stock at play. I would be of the belief that if the market settles down, the volatility ebbs off, then this stock can be on course of hitting even that 4-digit mark as well over the medium to long term. So I would definitely suggest the hold. And if you've bought at lower levels and if you're looking to do some activity, then I would suggest averaging down. If it comes back towards 200 moving average, 740 is the level for the 200 DMA for now for Tata Consumers.
Kunal, RBL Bank off the day's high, but in focus today. We've got Neeta who bought at levels of 217, as many as 100 shares. She's asking if she should book out losses at this point, or should she hold on with the hope of getting her buy price at least?
I would suggest, in fact, look to average it out if there is a possibility, because I would, again sense that many of these banking names have come back into deep oversold territories. So risk reward is, extremely favorable. Plus, the volatility has settled down for the bank nifty. So yes, intraday volatility may be high, but then when you look at it relatively by the end of the day and whether the prices have seen a incremental kind of a damage, we've not seen that happening for stocks like RBL Bank. And I think purely on that sense, RSI divergence on the hourly charts, buying or double bottom support at closer to 180 levels for RBL Bank. These are all positive ingredients when you look at the stock price movement. And I think in that sense, I would suggest that if you can average it out further, bring down your cost price towards say 195, 196 odd levels. That way, you could probably have a better chance of coming out in profits whenever the stock and the bank nifty rallies.
This one is from Maleshwar and saying, can I buy CCL products and Coforge at current market price for the shorter term? Either Coforge or CCL products. Which one should Maleshwar look to buy at current market price, Kunal?
I think you can probably go ahead with Coforge. That's a much better stock because of the quality, the inherent strength of the IT stocks. Mindtree, Coforge, L&T Infotech, Tata Elxsi, etc. There's so many stocks which have done exceptionally well in the mid-cap IT category. So if I have to pick, undoubtedly it's going to be Coforge out of the two names which you mentioned.
Gaurang, Tejas Network. We've got a viewer who has bought at levels of 281 and is asking whether to hold on. The stock is currently trading at 446. Should they book out or should they keep holding?
Well, Alex, unfortunately, no coverage, so won't be able to comment on this one.
Okay, fair enough. I'll take another query. We've got a question from Rajeshwari, and she's asking about Karur Vysya Bank. She's holding at levels of 59.75, and she's asking, oh, sorry, this is a technical question. Kunal, I'm coming to you on this one. Karur Vysya Bank bought at levels of 59.75. Can she add more at the current level, or would you suggest a switch to another stock? Her time frame is 3 months.
I think I should. I'll definitely recommend to switch to some other stock. Now there are three options, 3 or 4 names which you can look at current levels from the large cap banking names. And I would concentrate more on large cap names, given the fact that these stocks have already gone through a 15 to 20% correction on average. So you can look at maybe an ICICI Bank at current level 725 approximately. Even Axis Bank closer to 650, 660 mark, I think seems to be a good risk reward play. We just discussed Axis Bank on the chart busters as well. And from the other large cap names, I think even an HDFC Bank at current levels could probably be an attractive buy around this 1480, 1490 mark for the stock. So I would definitely suggest a switch and shift back towards quality.
Banks is in focus. Marion Portman is asking a question on IndusInd Bank. Gaurang, I'm coming to you on this one. wants to know whether it's a good idea to invest in IndusInd Bank at current market price for the next 2 to 3 years, and if so, what sort of a return can she actually expect on IndusInd Bank? Gaurang, fundamentally makes sense to actually look at IndusInd Bank right now. There's lots of news flow coming in on that particular count, and the recent one saying that the promoter will look to increase stake.
So, Cheryl, I think corrections like we saw of 8 or 10% odd on Sensex and Nifty, and maybe stock specific a little bit more. I think these kind of corrections are great opportunity for long-term investors to look at quality stocks. And very often you hear about investors saying we'll wait for a correction and then invest. And then the correction comes, they expect for a little bit more correction and the market does not oblige and turns around. So, our sense is, Cheryl, that banking and finance will do extremely well given the turnaround in the second quarter that we witnessed. So yes, IndusInd Bank is under our coverage from long-term point of view. 1250 to 1300 are the targets, if I'm not mistaken, on IndusInd Bank.
Right. Gentlemen, it's time to hit the rapid fire segment and request you to keep your answers short if possible. Kunal, this question is for you. Rashmi had asked about Tejas Network, which she bought at levels of 281. Should she book out or should she average at this point?
I think you should just hold on rather than booking out or averaging at current levels. Just hold on for maybe another couple of months.
Alright, Rahul Jain is saying that he's bought already PNG Health at 5,000 rupees per share. Long term, doesn't make sense to stay put with this one, Gaurang?
Well, unfortunately, it's a great company, Cheryl, but unfortunately we don't have a coverage.
Okay, Rosa has got a question on RT Drugs. Kunal, this one's for you. She's got 900 shares. I don't know. She says that she's facing significant losses in this counter. What should she do?
Well, not sure of the buy price, but then the stock did exceptionally well in 2019-20 from being 100 rupees towards 975,000 rupees. So it's bound to be that the stock is undergoing a correction. I think at current levels, you should utilize this correction and look to average it out further.
Okay, this one is coming in from KR Balan. Should I buy MTAR Tech at current price, and is it good to buy that by selling the shares of Aurobindo Pharma or Thyrocare? What's your take, Kunal? Should he shift from Aurobindo to MTAR Tech?
Well, I would not be, in fact, I would have a different view. I would suggest that you can probably hold on to both of these names. MTAR Tech could actually be a good buy at current levels given the kind of price trends the stock has seen over the last 6 months.
Gaurang, IRCTC, Akshay is holding he says he's holding with 100% profit. Should he hold for 3 to 5 years?
So we had a coverage on IRCTC IPO way back in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. And always, Alex, if you're making 100% profit, then it's only prudent to bring back 50% of your investment, thereby balance 50% would be cost-free, and you will have a good night's sleep. So I would advise to book part profits and stay invested in the balance.
Alright, and sadly with that we come to the end of the rapid fire as well as query segment. Thank you Kunal as well as Gaurang for joining us on the show, giving us your take on fertilizer sector as well as helping viewers make the right choice when it comes to their investments. But on that note, we will slip into a break on this edition of Buy Now Sell Now. But for all the viewers who've actually tuned in and who've not got your queries answers, don't worry, be patient. We will be coming back tomorrow and we will try and take as many queries as possible. But for now, we'll slip into a break.
Our top sources who have been working on the Reliance Aramco deal for the last 2 years tell us that there are a range of